Mike, we are here and we are talking about the different reasons why you are running for judge here in Wyandotte County. And we know that a judge handles all types of important matters that folks have to live with for the rest of their lives at times. And so I think that it's very important that judges are continuously making certain that they are fairly and justly making these decisions based upon the information that they have in front of them and the law. And so there's such thing as called implicit bias.
Sure.
And tell me what you know a little bit about that.
Well, I know implicit bias is some of these things that are so much a part of us that we don't even notice that we have the bias. Mm-hmm. So it's not a intentional mistreatment of somebody or discrimination against somebody, but maybe having something in your mind, a stereotype that you've already decided on, that all black people are like this, or all people who speak Spanish are illegal, or any of those things that may be, immediately the first thought that comes to your head when you see somebody of a different race, a different gender. Mm-hmm. It comes up a lot for me and the folks with mental illnesses, of people mm-hmm. with different capabilities.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
So, were you aware that this was a thing, right? Implicit bias, that we all have those snap judgments that we make. And sometimes if we're not aware of that, then we can kind of carry on that storyline, and then that begins to influence the decisions that we make.
I don't know that I knew about it as an area of research or discussion. I think it's something that I certainly have come to appreciate over my career. Mm-hmm. Because I started out as a prosecutor, and obviously that's a whole different area of folks that you're dealing with, mm-hmm. and both as people who are charged with crimes and as witnesses, and obviously it's a scary part of life that mm-hmm. people are going through. But also as my work in representing people charged with crimes, representing people in child and youth care cases, the more you talk with people, the more you get to know people, you can't put them in that box anymore. Right. The more exposure you have to people whose backgrounds and experiences are different than your own, you start realizing, oh, well, just because this happened to them, or they were charged with this, or because of their child was suspended from school, or whatever it may be, that doesn't necessarily fit right in with, that everybody is like this.
And I think that it's so easy, right? Because if we are able to categorize people, then you really don't have to try to understand them.
Right.
So if it's, all people who have blonde hair act this way, then I can just treat everyone who has blonde hair this way, and then I can treat everyone who has brown hair this way, and I can treat everyone who has black hair this way. But it takes work, right? And it takes being conscientious of the fact that we all have those different snap judgments, and then once we have them, backing up and saying, wait a minute, why am I thinking this way?
Right.
What have they done? Have they just looked at me? And I put them, in this particular category. And so just the conversation, right? The fact that you're willing to have the conversation is important and commendable, because sometimes people are very uncomfortable with just having the conversation.
Right, and we're not, let's be real, we're not talking about hair color, we're talking about skin color, we're talking about whether you're born here, or even if you were born here, if you appear to be of a different nationality, whether it's Hispanic, Mexican, Latino, Hmong, whatever it may be, that's what we're talking about a lot. And though I want to point out, just because of my unique experiences with the folks with mental illnesses, people mm-hmm. suffering from mental illnesses, and what we may just assume based on knowing that somebody is diagnosed with some sort of mental illness. And so, you have to have the conversation.
We do. But it could also be things like physical appearances, sure. right? So it could be, a bias towards people who are overweight right. or underweight, or whatever the case may be, because we all have different things that trigger different emotions in us right. based upon how we grew up and what we're exposed to,
sure.
or maybe some type of trauma that folks have experienced. So absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having the conversation regarding implicit bias, and how it's important to have that conversation so that we are aware of the decisions that are being made, and especially you as you are on this journey to capturing the vote.
Well, and that's why I think it goes back to why I talk so much about the importance of my experience representing people, because it's pretty hard to maintain. You'll always probably maintain some implicit biases, but it's pretty hard to maintain these boxes that we're going to fit people in the more that you work with different people from all over society. And so when you've done it for as long as I have, and you do it not only for people who can get the money together to come hire you, but also for the people who are not able to hire an attorney and they're appointed to represent. Now, obviously, the folks that need court-appointed attorneys come largely from minority communities, not completely, but areas where there might be economic disadvantage, all of those things. And you can't sit and listen to the stories as many times as I have and not understand that not everybody fits in a neat little box.
That's something, and I think that if we look at, just going to your point regarding who needs the appointed attorney, I think we definitely need to also look at who's involved in the system, right? And why different folks are involved in the system, and look at those numbers to figure out exactly, are the numbers proportionate or aren't they? And then asking the question. And there have been lots of different studies done on why are there more minorities in the foster care system than others when it's not proportionate to what the statistics say. I think there was studies done like in the 90s, and what it came down to was it's kind of how the systems were designed. So it needs to be looked at more, because we know that we have a foster care crisis right now, and that we have kids who don't have a place to go, yet we're taking them out of the home. And so it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. So